Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome back to Who Am I? This little space where we're going to philosophize for about an hour. We're going to look at the world. We're going to think about ourselves, meaning of life. Who am I? Where did we come from? Where are we going? All of it. We're going to muse about the meaning of life. You know, what is the meaning of life? Well, think about it this way, because I'm not going to tell you what the meaning of life is. I couldn't tell you that. But what I can tell you is how to look at it. Now, what you're going to see is going to be what you're going to see. And I can't tell you what that would be. You're going to have to look yourself. But it's like we're in a movie. Only the movie is way, 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 way bigger. It has so many dimensions. Every single life is a whole story of its own. And it's like you're a whole universe. You know, if 10 people are walking down the same street, every single one of those 10 experiences is wildly, vastly different, because the universe consists of the relationships, all the relationships. And so my relationship to my parents, for instance, I had different parents than my siblings had. We are all our own universe, and this setup is so much bigger than you think it is. But imagine it like a movie. 3D, just imagine the 3D part of it. General, moving through time. You see the wars and the different ways that we were at different times. Fashions. It's so crazy. It's gone from the men wearing tights, basically, like leotard tights kind of things, and long curly black wigs. Then they went to powdered wigs for a while, and high-heeled shoes and all kinds of stuff. And now, you know, and that continues to change. Although what's really cool now is that anything goes, and we're in a big enough society where you can see the whole thing, and you can see all of us. And when you see all of us at once, you go, oh, that's who we are. Because we are. What am I talking about? Source energy. That other stuff was a little bit of an aside. I was just pondering stuff this morning. It's early. It's always early. Who am I, and what's the meaning of life? Well, if life is like a movie, then current events alone are like a snapshot in the movie. And say if you're, just imagine a movie that if you saw a single frame, would you understand the movie? Probably not. So I think a sense of history is important, to really feel and understand the suffering that has already gone in front of us because of us not knowing who we were. Because of us pulling an us and them all the way down to the ground. Because of course, obviously, look at their behavior. Look at their behavior. It is so obvious that they are bad, they are wrong, there is evil, they are wicked. There is wickedness. We need to punish it. We need to quarantine it. We need to make sure that everybody pays for their crimes. On the surface, that point of view appears to have some validity. And I'll grant you, when you're actually confronted with an actual ne'er-do-well, someone who's really... But you know, there are other ways to handle it. And it's strange that so many Christians don't try to employ such um, peaceful measures. So many Christians are rather warlike. Who would Jesus kill? Who would Jesus bomb? The things in the Middle East are getting out of control. I don't know. I'm sitting in a fairly peaceful corner of the world, and I intend to stay there. I feel no pull to, and I think this show somehow, it's setting me up so that I have a voice, so that I get to just keep riffing about what I think the meaning of life is. And not just the meaning of life, because I try to hit some practical points. If you're a fan of the show, you'll know that the two aspects of the show are I'm a big campaigner for over unity consciousness. In this, I mean something very practical. I want it to be known. I would like, what was the extra, read all about it, thing that would come out, and people's attention would go to that because they would know that something important was being said. I don't know where you say that anymore. And in a way, it's a good thing. Although if there was really, really good news, I wish there was a good news media place where I could just push a button and speak this to the whole world, as long as it's on a positive frame, But over unity, that's the devices that can put out more energy than they take us to run. Can you just settle with that for a second? What that would mean for society, for our structures of economy, our energy, our everything. Can you see what it would be? So you might say, oh, but that's not possible. That breaks one of the laws of physics. You can't just create energy out of nothing. Well, you aren't creating energy out of nothing, because there is nowhere where there is not quite a lot of energy already. You are working with the structure of the vacuum, the quantum fluctuations, the vacuum. We need to become vacuum engineers. We need to understand how the structure of space-time exactly works, and exactly how the particles of virtual matter, which are real matter, and the momentum of them is what causes them to be more real, or just wink out and you didn't see it. But everything is winking in and out, in and out, in and out all the time. Every particle is actually doing that. And so the physical material is not quite as physical as you think that it is. There's only a slight difference between physical material and space. There's not that much of a difference. There's a spin that's the difference. And it's through this spin that we are all connected. And every one of us is manning their own spin. You have your own individual spin on the one hand, and then on the other hand, you have this spin that you share with everybody else. We are all spinning together. And yet, you have your own spin, and you can put your own spin on it, and I would advise you that you do. And I would advise that you try to build a momentum, a positive momentum from wherever you are, to try to weather the storms of chaos that are going to pull you around you. And there is all kinds of truth about the wickedness around you, or the dangers of things. But the way to manage it is to learn to train your focus upon the love, upon what you prefer, upon what feels good to you to put your focus on, for one thing. It's also from that platform that you can affect more positively the the problems that you perceive in the field around you. um, you can affect them better from a more positive way when you are not in a negative state, which means it's best if you aren't actually looking at the problems. It's best if you're all excited about the solutions. You know, that puts you in a better place. And the solution to our problem, which is we don't know who we are, is that we need to know who we are. You know, you have your individual self, and what are you doing with it? Are you going positive or are you going negative? Are you locking on to the physicality of the world around you and then just taking that as it goes? You know, the physicality is primary. Well, we're all taught that the physicality is primary. But I have come to believe that the physicality is actually not primary. It's secondary. It's real. I'm not going to argue with you about the reality of it, but it isn't primary. The primary thing that you should be focusing on has to do with frequencies, has to do with spirits, has to do with feelings, has to do with your inner self and a guidance system that you've got going on inside of you that you may or may not be properly listening to. You may be primarily focused on the world around you, and if you're frightened, then you likely are, because the hormones of fright, the fright and flight and or fight, you know, they all rhyme, right? Fight or flight, which fright induces fight or flight. But the hormones of that direct your focus into the right here, right now. That's what those negative emotions will do to you. And they bring you right hyper right into the here and now, and they block you out of all of your views of your bigger self, because you have a view of your bigger self and you see your bigger self all the time. Your bigger self is not a stranger to you. This idea that your higher self is this otherness, but it isn't. It's just a you that feels safe, that feels confident, and is looking around the world. And you got to you have to build a, um, a ritual or a custom or a process or a practice, however you want to call it, what you're going to be doing in order to build the momentum of your positive self. It's like Abraham says, the way to get rid of doubt is to get rid of it before you got it, by getting out ahead of the process, by understanding who you are and what you are about and what the object of the exercise is. The object of the exercise actually, forget about the physical things out there, all of the jobs and the relationships you're trying to get a hold of, and the empires you're trying to start, and all of those details, every one of which is different. Everybody's got a different one. I'm starting a restaurant. I'm starting a chiropractic. It's like the details are all different, but the thing that is common is that everyone, well, everyone's got stuff to do. That's what's common. And but the primary thing is actually has to do with the vibration of things. And so as you are cooking your ideas, your plans, your schemes, you have to be cognizant of the frequency that you are conducting yourself in, because it has a great deal to do with how you are going to interface with the rest of the world, how you're going to rendezvous with what and why, to what purpose. And we have been taught to keep our focus primarily on the actual physical stuff, because that's what's real, that's what's important. And while it is of importance. Um, Primary importance is to keep your eye on your frequency. And I had something really, I'm getting better and better at this. I'm going to get to a place where I can hit really high notes of reality, while at the same time weaving together incredible complexity in a field that is abstract enough that it covers what everybody's doing, no matter what the specifics of what they're doing is. It's sort of like the mathematics of sociology, you might say. Who am I? Who am I? And how does this work? Well, I'm telling you that the most important thing for you to be focusing on at any given time, well, you don't have to focus on it as long as you're there. And if you're not there, then you need to focus on it. And that is your state of being. What state of being are you in? Who are you being? Are you being your positive self or your negative self? Because your negative self isn't actually you, although you need to own it because you did it. It's sort of like the poop in the road. It's like if it's a problem, you're going to have to own it and figure out a different way, a different place to put your poop. It's not you, but you did it. And that's kind of what your negative self is. It's not you, but you did it. And so if it's causing a problem with you or the world, you're the only one who can fix it. And the way you fix it is to understand who you are. We've got to understand who we are. I think these huge collective it's like historical illustrations of our nature smeared over the canvas, the collective canvas of space-time that we are all viewing from a different direction, are serving as big, well, they're visual aids, they're visual illustrations of who we are and how our consciousness works, how our emotions work. I've said a lot of things in there, and I realize that I'm flying pretty high. This is what my daughters and I have called this kind of conversation. It's a non-resistant, just riffing about, the cosmos and the nature of things and stuff. And we dubbed it that on the way to a fesh, an Irish dance fesh in Colorado Springs. I was driving them there. Bob couldn't make it. And we just started talking about stuff. And then we dubbed it this. This is what we dubbed it. And usually it would only happen on long car rides, because that's when you just start, your consciousness can just drift out into, I guess you could talk about stuff immediately around you, but there's nothing around you for a while except grasslands and anyway, who am I? What are the two aspects of the show? Because we are talking about source energy. Have you noticed? Can you tell we've been talking about source energy? I did mention that you are two selves, and one of you is the spin that is all your own. All your own. And then the other one is the swirling original spin that you share with all of the rest of creation. And you need to get into alignment with the needs and the meaning and the reality of the actual world that surrounds you. Whatever you are doing in your life, whether you're hip-hopping, or whether you're Wall Streeting, or whether you're housekeeping, or homemaking, or school studying or beach combing, whatever it is that you are doing in your life in this world, you need to get in touch with that other side of you, that source aspect that is spinning with the rest of us. And if you would get into alignment with you and I get into alignment with me, I just bet you, my faith says, my intellect, my faith, my whole being says that we fit together in a beautiful and blessed way. And if instead of fighting one another, and instead of focusing on where we are fighting with one another, we focus on our nature. Who are we? Who are we? The answer to that, within the answer to that, within the question of that, lies the answer. Lies our within our understanding of who we are lies an implicit understanding of what to do. But you have to stand over in a place of where we are in order to understand what to do. Get into alignment with your own self and then follow the calling of your own soft heart. Now, I will say that I'm preaching this from a pulpit where I don't know. I modestly say that I haven't done that many things with my life. I do have a college degree, not very big one, but I have one. Got it at 50 years old. That's kind of cool. I have a peaceful relationship with beautiful children, at the very least, and I love them dearly. I am working on a relationship with a larger universe that I want to come from. I want it to be on my terms. That is why I have begun this show. At the very least, if somebody ever misunderstands me and fights me in a lethal way or whatever, and I end up dead, I have left quite a trail of a record of who I am, at least, you know. I don't talk about a lot of details. There's been a few details here and there, but just the record of how I see the world is kind of a record of me. And those who have actually known me will put it together and go, oh my gosh, look at who she was. We are seen by all the world, even though no one is looking at me really. I have a handful of regular viewers, and you who regularly listen to me, I am grateful for you. I really am. I'll have episodes pop here and there, and someday someone will really know who I am. But for now, I am just dedicated to describing every morning for an hour from this non-restrictive place, pulling in the wisdom of everybody that I know, including the wisdom of myself, and the wisdom of all of the teachers that I have ever believed, you know, with their talk of I loved Eckhart Tolle's pain body, the way he describes this energy field that is your negative self, and it is created by all the pain and suffering you have ever experienced and continue to live. It's your negative self. It's you, negative you. It's the Shiva and demonic energy that I speak about from a different angle, you know, that we create when we let our negative self drive the HBV. That's the human being vehicle, this meat vehicle, my conventional self. But this conventional self has her very own center of spin. Now, I actually have two spins. One is my very, 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 very own. And the other one is the source one I share with all of you. And through the source one, I also have all the information of all of the universe that comes to me through the Planck structure, The it comes to me through the vibrational, holographic reverberation of the allness. It's like all of the. So, what's happening through the Planck field is every quantum point is vibrating its little Planck frequency and exchanging its information with all of the rest of it. The little bit is putting forth its information to the whole, and the information of the whole is reverberating back down to the parts. So all through this, the universe is holographic. All of the information of it is everywhere. And so, of course, your inner being knows everything. It's sort of like that interface between your source self and your you self really does understand how to interpret it all. You should listen to your inner self. That's actually what it comes down to. Believe that she knows, because she really does. She's sitting in a place where you have declared everything you care about, everything you want, everything you desire, everything you have asked for. She is sitting in a vibrational place that is very quiet, very peaceful, knows all things. She's standing in a win-win place. She's standing where I win. She's standing where you win. She's standing where they win. She's standing where those people over there win. Where those enemies of yourself, she's standing where they win. She's standing where you win. She's standing in the win-win-win-win-win-win position. And if you would follow her gentle guidance to the spirits that would lead you to the impulses to understand, first of all, the meaning of the greater pattern of all of what's going on around you. If you had a sense of your history, if you had a sense of what it feels like, what it means to be a human being, bombed out of your home, or, enslaved by this or that, restricted by this bully, or ordered around by that one. This is not the way we should be organizing our human structures. Our human structures can be organized in a way that would vibrationally satisfy everyone on the field. But what it is contingent on to work in a large overall systems-wide way is that all of us need to understand who we are and how to lock into our own source. Our own source will tell us how we fit into the pattern best. Our own source will guide us to what we care about, what your own desire actually is. I'll tell you what you desire. Although I don't know, you might say it's a car, it's a job, it's that person, that relationship. It's I want that person to love me. That's what I desire. No, I'll tell you what you desire. You desire freedom. You desire fun. You desire efficiency. You want love and relationship and abundance and comfort. You want beauty. You want life. You want can you see it? It's all clear, but you've got to stand more clearly in your sense of those vibrations. And then from that position, now you can recognize what in the field matches that. And you go, oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, I love that. Ooh, that tastes so good. Oh, that person is so sweet. Oh, look at that little bunny. That's the person you need to be. Now, I know in a harsh world, that's a hard person to be. But just wherever you are and however you can, just walk around life with your book of positive aspects and recognize, you know, be taking note of the aspects of the world that you care about, because those aspects of the world that you care about are an echo, a reflection of who you are. That's that's what this whole exercise is about. That's what this whole exercise of your life is about. Who am I? And all of the things that you gather as you pull yourself together, because that's what you're doing. That's what you do in every frame of every moment of your life. You are looking around and you are recognizing more parts of yourself. Ooh, and you're doing it by uh, taking note of what you love and trying as hard as you can to not notice the things that you don't like. Although the things that you don't like, so I'm trying very, very hard to not to notice all the painful, wicked, terrible things of the world. But I believe that most of them are coming from this thing I'm just generalizing it to as big as, go general, get as general as you have to get until you can find yourself again and still be talking about that same thing. That's why I talk about it in terms of things like sixth mass extinction. Did you know that sixth mass extinction actually looks like a billion jillion horrifying specific little instances, little tragedies, this death here and that cruelty and that death there. But it's coming from a scarcity consciousness that human beings suffer from. It's also coming from us using fossil fuel because it's causing us to compete with one another in a way that we shouldn't have to. We don't need to compete with one another. We can just go off on our own somewhere in nature and create abundance like every other creature around does. And you might say, yeah, but they don't use that kind of technology. But you know what? They could. They do. We could. Other species do. I think that extraterrestrials do. And I think that that's the biggest reason why it is a secret. Why our general self is not acknowledging the extraterrestrial phenomenon. The other thing is that it could be complete bunk and nonsense. And millions of people who have been testifying to this for many years, as well as lots of evidence from our past, both in the records and whatever, and in the evidence just by looking at stuff that we can't do. And so I'm supposed to believe that an earlier version of me could do it, an earlier technology of humanity naturally occurring on Earth created those structures where there are perfectly formed and fitted stones that weigh tens of thousands of tons, hundreds of tons, 1,000 tons. Actually, I don't know if the biggest ones are true, but the 1,000 tons, 100 tons, we can't do that now with the cranes and the whatever we got going now as perfectly and in the locations that they were done, leaving no scars. But I mean, it's, how did they do that? We don't know how. So I believe that's kind of being kept a secret because there are aspects of what they knew that if we were given that knowledge, as barbarous and as backward as we are, as not knowing of who we are as we are, I think that it could be dangerous. The cult phenomenon, people don't understand what that is. This is all coming from the fact that we are one. We are one. And we are acting as though we are shards of a jillion, We're schizophrenic upon the land. You can see your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. You add them all together and we are one. When it's this thing, it's universal consciousness, but it's also a special thing because we are human beings and because we possess a human being consciousness that has particular capabilities. You have such capabilities if you would take your physical mind and literally line it up center for center with your source mind in your complete, line the hub of that wheel of dharma and karma and consciousness, line it all up to the center of your center, you know. The things that we could do. I focus on what we could do collectively, and I think about systems, and it has driven me into this show where I talk about who am I, but I'm really talking about who are we. If I would focus my efforts into my more individual understanding so that I could focus my individual, to my own service, it's possible that you could cohere the physical structure of your body such that you stay young, your eyesight gets better. I'm hoping that at some point, those kinds of things align up within me. But what I am called to think about is how better our systems would be if we would just line them up in the first place with all the needs of all the creatures involved, all of the ecosystems, if we would learn how to build our homes and our structures so that they didn't cause everything else to die. It would be nice. I would love to keep my immediate home completely rodent-free. My immediate home, I would like to be completely rodent-free. And then my immediate yard, I would like it to be somewhat free of some kinds of the vermin. But I would more joyfully do that if the whole rest of the world was alive. But because of the way our cars are, the way they have to go on the surface of the road, we have to build these concrete and asphalt roads everywhere that we don't want to walk, that we want our cars to be able to go. But did you know that if our cars could fly, we would not have to do that? And we could keep our natural ecosystems around you way more intact, just as a general rule. And then you could focus on keeping the car clear of bugs and vermin and, it would be nice if we could sort of steer the way that so we can rebloom everything. We can re-garden all of it once we realize, first of all, we can be off fossil fuels and we can be on these over-unity devices. Now, Nassim, he classified them all as tapping into source energy. I wonder if that was an overstatement. Is that what the guy from Thrive, when he's tapping into a frequency, is he somehow tapping into source energy? I think maybe he is. That's probably what he's doing. So he's tapping into the vacuum. I don't know. But the very idea that it is possible is heresy. It's absolute heresy. As a matter of fact, if I'm ever murdered for any reason, I want you to remember, and you listened to this particular show, I want you to remember that. Although if you're a regular listener, you don't know who I am. Unless you know me. Unless for some reason I gave you the thread and you have been listening to me and you find me interesting, and so you keep listening to me. I don't know. I don't think I will be murdered because I think the cat's out of the bag. I mean, all those guys who made that movie, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, Nassim himself would be murdered already. I don't think you can keep the cat out. I don't think you can stuff the cat back in now. I think we're at that point. Over unity is possible. Over unity is possible. This incredible field that the whole universe is made of. The space between you and whatever objects around you that you think is space is not space. It is a roiling, it's full of these Planck frequencies, these little spherical pixels. It is the pixels of the universe. And they are magical because through their information structure, they're passing the information of reality back and forth all over the place. Reality is known. You are known. And if you would know that, then you would know. And you could know and be known and know and be known and know and be known back and forth in a faithful way that just flows with the rest of the field. And if all of us knew that we were this field, we could do it this way. Instead, we imagine ourselves to be these hyper-individual things that have no connection. So you are your individual self, and you are absolutely that individual self. Cherish that. Know it. Know how individual your individual self is, that center of spin that you are. But know also that you are connected to the original spin that we all are. And line all of that up. That is your life's task, to line those things up. Because it reveals to you who you are. It reveals to you the meaning of the world around you. It helps you to recognize how and why others go off the rails. They go off the rails because they don't know who they are. They get carried away with their negative self because they start focusing on the matter instead of the spirit. The spirit is the frequency, the vibration of it, which is what you really are. You are the vibration. You are the spirit. And the spirit that you really are is one of love. It's one of knowing what the whole thing is. And it's not that you don't have the anger, because you have the anger about this and that. Of course you do. But that is just a piece of yourself. The love is the whole of yourself. And that's how it works. And so your journey to find yourself, to find your understanding of your two selves and put them together, and then connect meaningfully with the rest of the spin of the rest of what's going on. That is your life's work. Who am I? I believe that a better understanding of all of this is going to bring us to many things that will it will start relieving the pressure on the competition that we are all in all the time for all the stuff. And then those of us, who all of us is us, and so I'm gonna say us, whether it's us Nazis or us born again Christians or us Muslims or us men or us women. Do you see what I'm doing here? It's us. So don't think that when I say us, that means that's a particular place that I have delineated myself. It will help to alleviate the competition that we feel for one another if we were more in the business of creating abundance rather than scarcity, and noticing abundance and well-being instead of noticing the scarcity. Whatever you are noticing and however you are focusing, and whatever that emotion that you are feeling as you are doing that action, all of that's all perfect indications of exactly where you are going. You are going to places where more of what you're looking at is going to be there, or more of the spirit of that is, and when you get there, it's going to feel just like that. How can you tell? Because that's how it felt when you went there. So how do you change that? How do you add positivity to a negative world without looking at the problems? Well, what you do is the problem is implied when you focus on the solution. But you're focusing on the solution, you're not focusing on the problem. And I'm going to tell you right now, the solution to humanity's problems is to understand our nature and to line up with it in truth, and then move from who we really are. And I guarantee you, no matter how horrible of a person it appears you might be being, or somebody else might be being, who they really are is this better self inside. And in order for us all to be in a better place, we dang sure better help our demon selves find their nicer selves. That's how you do it. You make a friend out of that enemy. You figure out how there's enough for all of us. You figure out a place where there is a win, 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 win. And if one of the sides can't see it that way because they are fixed in a paradigm of win-lose, well, that's the problem. That's the problem. And I don't know how to advise anybody to fix that in any other way than to understand our nature and then move into a better place because of it. No matter what anybody has ever actually done to you or your family or you whatever, that the fact is that's where it's coming from. It's coming from us not knowing who we are. And I think the only solution is for us to know who we are, and for us to understand that there is potentially enough abundance for everybody. There really is. But we just need to we need to get back into the business of abundance creation. So how do we do that? Over unity. Put enough energy into the hands of everybody who has a great idea, an orchard business that they want to make thrive, a this or that kind of a business. Any kind of a business is going to be better served by not having to pay an energy bill. Whether you are running a restaurant or an Airbnb or an orchard or a balloon I wonder what the balloon industry is going to be. Probably not much. It's not going to be like that because gravity control is going to take us all off the surface of the planet. But are we going to have 10 billion rowdy, angry, misguided, ignorant souls flying around with all the energy that they could possibly use, rat-a-tat-tatting each other, building little fiefdoms and kingdoms and imagining that the object of the exercise is this rather than that? Is that what we're going to have on our hands? That's probably what the national security issue is. Why they keep snatching these things up off of the market, because they imagine, that this many people, if we're constricted in our energy use by having to go dig it up, on the one hand, it gives the people who own the fossil fuels the power to control the world, but it also keeps we've got to know who we are. We've got to know that who we really are is peaceful, is loving, is kind. So now if you're looking at somebody who's totally neither peaceful, loving, nor kind, that gives you an idea of how out of alignment that person is. It doesn't tell you that they are not peaceful, loving, and kind. It tells you how out of alignment, how off of who they really are, they are being in this moment. I bet you that same person has a loving, kind place, though. They're expressing it to their dog, or their horse, or their kid, or their woman, you know, or their mom. It's somewhere. It's somewhere. Hitler had a favorite dog. Hitler had Eva Braun, actually, and he kept her for years. And it's interesting because she was almost the epitome of a Weimar Republic kind of woman in a way. But, she had her own thoughts, and she was very free-spirited in a way. I don't know how he kept her in a can like that, and how she was very unconscious of certain things as she focused on other things. That's all I can say to explain, that situation. You got to look at this from a very non-physical kind of way. Look at it from a spiritual perspective. There actually is not an us versus them. Now that's the problem, because on the one hand you can see there obviously is an us versus them. So how can you say there is not an us versus them? Well, actually there isn't. There isn't one. Unity consciousness takes you to a different place. There is not an us versus them. And that's what the problem is. This polarity in the quantum field is causing this illusion within our consciousnesses, imagining this, you are the enemy, but there is no enemy. The whole thing is actually a reflection of you. So, I'm coming up on an hour. Well, 52 minutes. I guess that's not quite an hour. I have 10 more minutes left if I wanted to burn it. Not sure exactly what we have accomplished today. I'm just trying to get better and better at removing my physical prejudice from my understanding of the topic. Most people, when they remove their personal prejudice, there's nothing left. What's the abstract of what they're looking at if it's not, let me tell you about my life. As we discuss the structure of life itself, the structure of the quantum field, we're going to call it the divine matrix. It's the hottest, latest new topic. And I think, and I wish, over unity devices was the next big topic. Because what we need to have, what would be great, and I'm going to call this out as a challenge to America. Could be a challenge to the world too. Actually, I hate to leave out the rest of the world. But I don't have any say about the coffers of anybody else. I actually don't have anything to say about the coffers of the United States. But being a United States citizen, you sort of imagine that you have some kind of a say. So I call out as a challenge to America to have a contest to see how many ways, how many great ideas. The reason this isn't going to happen is because all America would have to do is go to the patent office and go into the vault and find all the ideas that they have taken away from people and just put them up on the internet. So it can't be the government. The government isn't going to do this. So some billionaire needs to do this. I challenge a billionaire to do this. Any billionaire who, within sound of my voice, challenge the world for over unity devices. Any device that they can produce that will produce more energy than it takes us to run it, And if you can come up with a device that will do such a thing, they'll give you $1 million. And the race is on. And have it be a public thing. Have it be an advertised thing. And the race starts now. The first one to come up with one gets $10 million. And every subsequent one, every one, the very first one who is not only comes up with one, but is willing to open source the entire structure of it to the world, gets $10 million. And the next, I don't know, how big of a billionaire are you? Can you give $1 million to the next 50 that come up with one, or the next 10, the next 20 that are of different designs that put out sufficient amounts of energy relative to the minor amount it might take to get it started or get it built? It would change the world. It would change the world, and it would actually open up lots of new cans of worms too. And especially right now, I think that gravity control needs to be part of this whole equation too, because we'll just head off into the whatever with our wheeled vehicles and destroy what ecosystem we've got left if we can't somehow get into place in this game plan, getting up off the surface of the planet, gravity control. I have such dreams. I should write science fiction books, and maybe at some point I will. I feel this whole calling, this pull, this calling of this intelligence inside of me that forces me to do this show for an hour a day, is going to be pulling me into other things. It's pulling me into different kinds of organization, because I realize that it is at a very, very fundamental level. It's all about organization. And that organization at a very, very fundamental level comes down to literal spin. It actually comes down to spin, but then there's different kinds of spin, and they're riding on the different kinds of frequencies that the spirits ride on, So you have the storms of chaos that are brewing, and they have an organization. And then there are the storms of coherence. And those aren't storms, actually. Those vortices of coherence that are organizing. And they do it in all kinds of ways. Everything from sports teams, or leagues. There's minor leagues, and there's senior leagues, and there's kids leagues, and there's there's the people that organize to play cards, and there's people that organize to do Irish dance feshes, and there's those who organize to do bowling camps, and there's all kinds of organization going, and all of these different organizations are riding on the whims and ideas and thoughts and impulses and desires of different people. And the more that within your organization you can weave in the spirit of all of the things that we want, everything from beauty and freedom and joy and fun, abundance, comfort, there's all kinds of things that we want. How can you put all of those things together? And the more you do it by being in touch with the love within yourself, the more you attract the attention of others and their coherent spirit joining the win-win game that you are involved in. The more you are win-winning it, the more others will be attracted to your enterprises, because they see within it a win for themselves. You see how that goes? But if you go win-lose all the time, then you're creating losers. It's not win-lose. You've got to see it as a win-win. And all players on both sides of all wars. The way to fix the wars is that you've got to change the paradigm in the minds of the people fighting the wars. You've got to get off of that win-lose, that us-them. It doesn't work. You've got to see the whole world different. Now, I know that sounds like way too big of a task. How do you get the world to see it different? Well, I don't know. One show at a time. And I am hoping that eventually we get to where I'm hoping we get, where there is enough energy for all of us to just go off and do whatever we want. We can be tribal. We can take our tribe off into the woods with our unlimited clean free energy and our transportation devices that can fly around, so I don't need roads. Doesn't matter. I don't need wires, so I don't need that kind of infrastructure. I don't need telephone wires. I don't need electrical systems like that. No, I may need some kind of water supply. I may need to be on the edge of the ocean, and I may need to have a device that will desalinate ocean water. A device like that can plug directly into the matrix, directly into the 0-point energy field. And now I can build my little empire on the coast somewhere, and my being there doesn't destroy the planet. And I'm not fishing for the whole world. Now I'm just fishing for me and my family. And I don't have oily residue or crappity crap around my living structure. And all around me is life. And can you imagine? I spend a lot of time imagining where we're going and how much more quickly we could get there if we knew where we were going and why we were going there and how we could get there. The path out of the wilderness. The pathway out of the wilderness is clean, free energy for everybody, everywhere, a better, clearer understanding of who we are and how our whole system functions, and and gravity control so that our transportation systems don't have to grind the planet into hamburger as we move about. And once those three things are in place, there is no limit to what humanity can do on planet Earth. And we don't have to be worried about outwardly expressed population control. Give the control to every single human being to be free to either raise children because they are called to and they want to and they would love to. There are so many people who would love to raise children. And if you don't want to raise children or you don't feel comfortable raising children, then don't freaking raise children. But, the planet could handle a lot more as long as the abundance of the planet was on the rise and not on the decline. It's on the decline because we're destroying the ecosystems because of the way our human systems are structured, because of the way we extract fossil fuel and then all of the ecosystems that it endangers every step of the way. But we need the energy. We need the energy. And we can bless the fossil fuel that has gotten us this far. We should not curse it. As a matter of fact, if we do not bless it, we will never be free of it. We have to bless it. We have to honor it for what it has done for us and put it in the past, in the same place where we put whale oil. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we had to do that. That was part of our coming into ourselves, into our higher energy state that we are coming into being. It had to jumpstart us, get us to a place where we could get up to speed, where we could even understand. but it's time to leave that vehicle behind. And the way you leave it behind is, first of all, you understand that there is a better way. And that better way is creating devices that just produce energy. Ooh, didn't know you could do that. Did not know you could do that. We should be shouting it from every tower, from every rafter, from every rooftop. We should be shouting the message of over unity, over unity. We can do this. We can get off of fossil fuel and hand energy capability to everyone, everywhere. Even those on the edge of the sub-Sahara, now they can have fuel to cook their food that isn't whatever marginal vegetation managed to survive. Let's build those pipelines to pipe water into the deserts that we have desalinated at the coasts. Let's start using our energy for that. And if we have free, clean energy, it would make sense to do such things. Right now, the energy is neither clean nor is it free. And it is at the heart of our economic systems. What is going to happen to the economic systems when, at first, there's still lots and lots of need for lots and lots of energy. And what the over unity devices are going to do is they're going to make energy clean and plentiful. And those who have over unity devices are going to put fossil fuels are just going to go away as being, at first, over unity devices are going to add to the equation. It's just going to be addition, addition, addition. And I think that it's just going to no longer make any sense to take the fuel out of the ground. Energy units can still be traded, maybe? I don't know. It's going to open up all kinds of worms. Physically, I don't know what this is going to do to our future. It's going to change everything. Our understanding of who we are and how reality comes into being, what this field around us, how it works, how it's producing reality, and how the spin of that reality is producing the gravity and the structures of I don't even know how that's doing that. It's going to change everything. It's going to make the whole world way different. And I just want to be on the leading edge of that because it's fun and it's interesting. And there is enough abundance for all of us. And we should be free. Each and every one of us needs to be free. But actually, each and every one of us already is free to, from wherever you are free to line up your two selves, your source self and your individual self. That's what you're free to do. And from that position, no matter where you are on the grid, your impulses now will be telling you the best way to move from where you are to where you want to be, wherever that is. But what you want, remember, don't fix it on a physical form. What you want is all those feelings. And your inner being knows exactly the path to a life that equals all of those feelings that you crave. Follow the feelings. That's probably the moral of my message today. Follow your feelings. Care about how you feel. Don't be so willing to give up your good feeling for some thought that somebody hands you about something in reality. I'm air quoting reality around you. Don't be so willing to give up your good feeling. Know that in the biggest frame of all, you are okay. All is well, nothing wrong anywhere. Just know that. In the biggest frame that you are, all is well. Now work down from there and get into alignment. get into alignment from there, and follow the impulses that your day calls you to, whatever they are, from your point on the grid. That's the best advice I can give you. The specifics, I couldn't tell you. I'm working on my own. And until tomorrow, I hope you'll be back to see me again here on my little show, Who Am I? I love you. And until tomorrow, please, may the source be with you.